Welcome to this presentation from Pathways, the UniConnect partnership operating across Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. In this video, we're going to be exploring the idea of whether virtual tours can be a meaningful engagement toward Gatsby's benchmark 7, or if they're just a flash in the pan marketing toy. Before we get started on exploring virtual tours, I'd like to give an overview of the UniConnect programme and explain a little bit more about the Pathways partnership. We'll then demonstrate how to make virtual meaningful and finally showcase a range of virtual resources you might use in your classrooms moving forward. The UniConnect programme is the name given to the Office for Students initiative to increase the number of underrepresented students participating in higher education. Some of you might have heard of the NCOP acronym, but we've now moved forward and are now known as UniConnect Partnerships. The project started in July 2017, and there was a focus on students who lived in areas of the country where progression to higher education was low given the GCSE attainment. 29 partnerships were created through a bidding process of neighbouring universities and FE colleges, with funding of around £120 million for a sustained and progressive targeted outreach programme until July 2021. Phase 2 of the project started in June 2019, and this continued the targeted outreach, but also introduced the concept of outreach hubs, a one-stop shop where teachers, students and parents from all backgrounds could access information on higher education. The key goal of the UniConnect programme is to encourage participation in all aspects of higher education, not just university. This includes higher national diplomas, higher national certificates, foundation degrees, and higher level and degree level apprenticeships. The project draws on experience from a range of educators' backgrounds and sees universities and further education colleges working collaboratively along with groups in the community too. If you're from outside of Leicester and Leicestershire, I'd really recommend that you get in touch with your local partnership after this video to see what work they can do with your students. There is a caveat that because the partnerships are government funded, the main work focus is on state schools, but they should be able to signpost you to useful resources anyway. The focus on postcodes is not a comment on your teaching or your school performance. They're just areas of the country where particular barriers to accessing higher education are faced. Each partnership works in a slightly different way with a slightly different model. The idea is that they respond to local issues and local needs of the young people in their areas and feed up into a national picture. There may be work done with community groups, charities and other public sector bodies, including councils and business groups. Underpinning the targeted outreach that the UniConnect partnerships are doing, the government have also put together the DiscoverUni.gov.uk website. This shows a range of key statistics from universities and higher education providers in the United Kingdom. Students, along with parents and teachers, can use it to compare courses at different institutions on a number of metrics, including graduate outcomes, average starting salary from 3 to 6 months after graduation, and student satisfaction on the course. I'll leave it to you if you want to include this website in your higher education research toolkits. Pathways then is the partnership of the University of Leicester, De Montfort University, Loughborough University and Leicester College. We work with schools, sixth form colleges and FE colleges across the city of Leicester, the wider Leicestershire County and Rutland. Our approach in phase 1 was outreach activities outside of the school calendar, such as holiday clubs to give learners an insight into subjects at higher education. Our approach in phase 2 has been much more school aligned, and we've worked on local issues that students in those schools face when it comes to their future decision making. This includes signposting to other people's activities as well as running our own. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated our progress on reaching out to individual schools to address the specific areas they need extra support on. And we have been successful in running a number of live online events, such as half-term art clubs, summer science projects, and a virtual emergency medicine work experience. In schools, we've delivered a range of presentations and workshops, both in person and virtually via Teams or Zoom. As part of our approach to avoid intervention fatigue in our schools and colleges, in phase 1, we commissioned a website to be built that included a virtual tour element so that students could explore a campus from their classroom or bedroom. So why do Pathways invest in virtual tours? Well, before the funding for UniConnect was announced, the Leicestershire universities have been mulling on finding a solution to some issues that we come across with schools. The 3 higher education institutions have very proactive outreach and student recruitment teams, and they're working with a lot of the same schools that Pathways wanted to work with. Many were getting tired of being pestered for outreach activity. When UniConnect was announced, it was received with a mixture of excitement and dismay. There was excitement in that it opened up some opportunities to broaden our reach with key influencers, such as parents, carers, or wider teaching staff, but dismay in that we needed to come up with new or additional outreach work. When we coupled this with the very narrow targeting and many of our schools in the outlying county areas having small numbers of UniConnect eligible students, it was felt that we were going to be on an uphill struggle to engage schools and learners. When we were trying to come up with a solution, we were focused on a number of objectives. Firstly, we wanted to reach as wide an audience as possible, including parents, to discuss the benefits of higher education for students in our area. Secondly, it had to provide value for money and a return on investment. Thirdly, it had to have longevity and not just be a flash in the pan exercise. Many of our wider WP teams are experienced practitioners who have seen and delivered lots of events that are good fun, but don't really have any lasting impact on the learners that take part or engage with them. Finally, it had to be easy to access and easy to use. We wanted learners and parents to access the information, advice and guidance on demand, not just in schools or on parents' evenings. Luckily, we knew what we wanted, and this was an interactive tour of a university campus that gave learners an insight into higher education and student life, and that they could return to again and again. We wanted it to be supplemented by useful information or signposts to entry requirements, financial support, and wider student support, amongst other things. So is our Pathways to HE website a gimmick? Well, perhaps. Obviously, we want your students to come and talk to our partner universities when they're at fairs in your school hall, and we want you to want Pathways to come in and deliver unbiased information, advice and guidance. We know that you want engaging and interactive sessions that your students are going to listen to and absorb, and our website is certainly engaging and interactive. And more than just engagement at school, we want students to go home and show their parents, carers and siblings this really cool thing and the virtual reality. But to be clear, even though our website isn't a marketing tool and we don't want to promote any one single destination, that doesn't mean that our partners would want us filming miserable students on a wet, rainy day. So the photos and videos, whilst informative, are in a positive light. And virtual tours from other providers are definitely wanting to showcase the campus and show students all of the best bits. So there is an element of gimmick to them, but do you know what? They do work in engaging students with higher education. Here's some of the feedback that we've received from students and teachers who have played on our website. Genuinely, the response has been great, and the workshops that we've been able to deliver in the past have seen good student engagement. The key thing is that if we apply some structure around these sessions and virtual tours, however they're laid out or presented, then they can be so much more than a gimmick. Which leads us on to Gatsby, particularly Gatsby 7, and encounters with further education and higher education. The traditional way of driving a busload of students onto a campus may see us missing an opportunity. Gen Z students prefer to get their information online and pick it up in short, sharp chunks. So with virtual tours, we have a real opportunity to utilise these whizzy virtual resources to enhance their insights into higher education and possibly further education too. And with COVID, we've definitely seen an increase of interest in virtual tours, and it may be something that stays even if all restrictions are lifted. And it all comes down to this idea of meaningful encounters and our definition of meaningful. I think that virtual resources and experiences can be more meaningful or pick up on the gaps in the meaningfulness of a higher education or further education encounter, because they can offer what a single institution can't, and what we as a UniConnect partnership can't offer you on the scales that we'd like to. A traditional campus visit would be limited to 1, maybe 2 classes in a year group, and would be a full day out from school. With a virtual visit, we can see an entire year group over the course of a school day, and they can nip to Plymouth, to Loughborough or York, all in 1 hour, and take a look at the things that interest them. They can take their time exploring even after the lesson is finished. And of course, no single student gets left behind. But to make a virtual encounter meaningful will require a little preparation ahead of the exploration. Students need to have the ability to compare and contrast different options, have the opportunity to explore the learning environment, and finally to understand and find out the information that's relevant to them. Setting a meaningful activity such as our Explore worksheets will help learners focus on the site that they are exploring. So now we're going to go and explore a number of different virtual tours that are out there. We're going to show you our webpage first and the virtual tours that are available there. Then we'll head to the UCAS virtual tour page, which has curated tours and video playlists from a number of different higher education institutions. We've chosen 4 of our favourites to show you the breadth of information out there. And these 4 tours have the same basic premise, to show off their institutions as they would on an open day. However, there are some differences in how they've set it out. The tours on the Pathways website are designed to be informative rather than promotional, but still give a flavour of each individual university in the partnership. This is the Pathways website. As you can see, we've got a number of different jumping off points for students to find out what they need to know and when, see what activities they can get involved with, and discover more about us as a UniConnect partnership. If you want to go and explore our universities, then simply click on Explore a Pathway, and you can see the 4 universities from the first phase of the project. Click on University of Leicester. This should take us to our loading homepage for the virtual tours. And each of the virtual tours will have this same landing page where you can watch an intro video, have a look around, or take a quick tour. If we click on Take a Quick Tour, then each of the universities will have 10 videos that will highlight certain aspects of campus that they'd like to show off. There are some common themes across all the universities that are on the website so far, in that there'll be a video around the library, there'll be a video around the student union and the student support services, and also a video around kind of keeping fit and sport too. So those are just short, sharp videos, just under a minute long, to give a bit of an insight, quick insight into what studying at a higher education provider across Leicester or Leicestershire is like. But to explore the 360 photographs, have a look around is the place to go. And again, there'll be these 3 topics: got accommodation, learning, and campus. Accommodation, where you can go and explore the halls of residence, take a look and see what sort of bedrooms students are sleeping in. Campus is sort of the broad overview of each institution and kind of the main buildings. And learning is where you can go and find out more about different courses and look in a bit more depth specifically at the facilities on offer there. So we've split up the courses into sort of broad subject areas. For some of them, we won't have 360 videos, but we will have a link out to the university's webpage where students can read more about the course from the institution themselves. But if we click on Geography and Environmental Science, you can see these are the 360 videos, and you can just click on any one of them and you'll get dropped onto campus straight away. So you can drag and click to move around and have a look. And these are 360. I'm not going to do the whole thing, so you might get a bit sick. We've got navigation hotspots where you can move from room to room. And we've also got information hotspots that students can click on, and these will bring up videos or bits of information to help students learn more about the course that they're interested in. What's also really good and can help with the sort of Gatsby 7 and making things meaningful is that on the side here, you can see which other universities also offer geography and environmental sciences or something related to that course. So clicking on Loughborough University takes us away from Leicester and into Loughborough. And then you can see that again, we've got videos. You can click into the 360 space, and so students can compare and contrast between the 2 institutions without having to, go too far away, and they can do that all pretty much in one go. And it's very easy to just hit back, and then we're at the menu there. So this is Loughborough's. So this is the UCAS virtual tours page, and this is a list of tours and videos from a number of providers across the United Kingdom, and it's a really good jumping off point for students to start their higher education research, no matter what year group they're in. Some of the tours are quite interactive and quite immersive. Others are just YouTube playlists, but all of them will be giving a sense of what facilities there are on site, what student life is like. You may even have a chance to explore the city. There might be the opportunity to take part in some free lectures. So I really would recommend signposting towards this site on UCAS to help students with their options. It goes all the way from the University of Aberdeen to University of York, York St John University. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand over to three of my colleagues who have picked some of their favourites, so you can get a sense of what some of these tours look like. And then I'll talk about one of the YouTube playlists that is available that I think is also just as effective.
Hello, my name's Natalie and I'm one of the Pathways Hub and Events Assistants. Today I'm going to be walking you through the virtual tour of Falmouth University. So on this main landing page, we've got these Fs, which symbolise different subjects departments within the university. So you can see photography here and fashion and textiles here. If we take a closer look, we can click onto it and have a look at the studios and workspaces within that department, as well as the various courses that fall under that one department. Alternatively, you could pick a relevant subject from the list here and take, again, a closer look at the resources and facilities that you have within there. We also have these yellow circles which represent points of interest within the university, such as the library, the bar, and some cafes. Again, you can click on campus life here and take a closer look at any individual cafe and bar you'd like to know more about. We've got these bed symbols here on the right-hand side, which symbolize the student accommodation. When we click on one of these, it takes us to an example of a student bedroom, which could be where you could be staying if you were a student at this university. Falmouth University is also split into two campuses. So actually we can look at the other campus, which is just 20 minutes away from the first one. Over here, you find the same thing. You've got the Fs, which symbolize the different subjects, and also the circles with points of interest. My favorite feature is at this particular campus. And if we just rotate the page around here with your mouse, you will see that on this side, we've got a selection of beaches where students can go to relax, socialize, or perhaps spot dolphins and seals sometimes. Just to give you a sense of what these beaches look like, here are some of the images you can see when you click on them. So that's it for this whistle stop tour. Thank you very much for watching.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm one of the event and hub coordinators based at Pathways, and I'm going to be talking you through the Manchester Metropolitan University and their virtual tour. It's really easy to use, actually. It says you can use your headphones, but actually you probably don't need to use them, as it's just music playing in the background. But all you need is just your mouse and being able to scroll through, or just by clicking the arrows on the side on your web browser, as it's just a load of images that's kind of been stringed together to make it a moving image or a video. And then on this journey, you kind of move your way through campus and you meet all sorts of different students along the way. So the first student you meet, they are a fine art and art history student. So you get to hear about their story and kind of like their experience going through university. You then move on and you meet a second student. This one is doing mechanical engineering, and you can actually go and click on the map, so you get to see where the building is and where the rest of the university and just Manchester in general. You get students can have a feel of the full picture rather than just seeing images of different buildings. You can see actually how it all relates together, which I think is a really nice idea that they've added to it. We move on to another student here who's studying fashion. And this time you get to see some images of the facilities, a little bit of kind of what it's like to study on the course. So again, something really nice to kind of help you build the image of exactly what the student experience is going to be like. Then moving on again, we meet another student who's doing sociology, and this time you get to move on and hear a bit more about the department, bit of information. So a little facts of, there's 3,500 students just within that sort of faculty. Again, really nice to have that little bit of information. And then this is probably my favourite part is that not only do you hear about the stories, but also you can get a little bit of a virtual tour of the building itself. So here you get to see some of the facilities. It is a little bit difficult to control at times. But there you get to see various different parts of the building, even the cafe. I mean, who doesn't want to hear about the cafe and see, you know, just where you might be eating if you go to university? So really useful that you can kind of bring the university experience to life for your students. And then we move on. And then there's also a chance to watch a video led by one of the students. And there, you know, another idea of just kind of like the student experience, having been led by a student of sort of like their point of view, going through the various different facilities. Before finally, we've got one last student who's doing business management. And then you get to the end and you're invited to book on to open day, and you can also find more about the university. So again, I think it's really nice that you can utilize these virtual tours to really, again, bring the student experience to life, learn an awful lot about the university itself, and then hopefully have a little bit of fun along the way whilst you're learning. So something you really, really should utilize with your students. So.
Hello everyone, my name's Zach and I am one of the Pathways, Events and Hub Assistants and I'm based at the University of Leicester. In this short video, I'm going to be exploring the University of Sussex campus by using their online virtual tour. So the University of Sussex online virtual campus tour begins at Library Square, which is described as being the heart of campus. And one quite cool thing about this is it's not all still images, as you can see, it's time-lapsed. So you can actually see what a busy campus looks like. You can see students going to and from. So it just gives you a little bit more of an understanding of what it's like to be on a university campus, perhaps in comparison to being at a school or a college. And you click and drag to navigate your way around. And there's lots of different areas of campus or different areas or information about student life at the University of Sussex you can click on to find out more. So if you click onto one of these circles, that will take you to a different part of campus. For example, we can find out a little bit more about teaching spaces. As you can see, that shows you the inside of a lecture theatre. And one thing that's nice about this is it's not just a big empty lecture hall. You can see students coming and going, and that again gives people exploring the campus a bit more of an insight as to what it's like to study at a university and how that might be different to teaching facilities or teaching spaces at a school or a college. You can also hear from current university students, so they can give you their experiences of what it's like to study at the University of Sussex, what they found about the teaching facilities and that sort of thing. And that's the same with all aspects of this campus tour. You can hear from current university students, which is one really nice feature about it. But if we go back to the main campus, another really good feature about this is they have these little love hearts, which is places on campus that are interesting or places that they love. For example, the library along there with a quote from a student. But you can also go onto the quick links here at the bottom, which will take you to various different places on campus. So next, if we look at socialising on campus, again, this just shows you a different part of campus with more information about it there. You can once again have a click and drag around. More places we love about campus. Again, there's just lots and lots of information, lots of pictures. You can go and take tours around the Students' Union, the cafes, the bars, all sorts of things. So it's not just the teaching facilities, you also build up a really good understanding of what it's like to actually be on campus and what other facilities they have there. But again, just giving a student or a young person a really good understanding of how being on a university campus is so different to being at a school or at college. So once again, if we come back to the Library Square, which, as I mentioned before, is where you navigate your way around the University of Sussex campus. As you can see, various other places on campus you could look at. You can look at the research facilities, already looked at the teaching spaces. You can also have a look at the sports facilities. We're going to have a look at the accommodation.
It's kind of like a village. I think it's.
So this gives you a chance to look actually inside to some of the rooms, look inside some of the student accommodation. So you can find out a little bit more about what it's like to live away from home. And finally, what I wanted to look at is one other really good feature of this online campus tour. It's not only because you tour the university and the campus itself, you can also have a look at the surrounding area of Brighton. Because obviously, if you're going to move away for university and move to a different city. Not only know what the campus is like, but you want to know what the surrounding area is like. I hope you found that useful, but there you have it, the University of Sussex campus tour. I definitely recommend having a bit more of a look for yourself. But my favourite feature about this was the fact that you can look elsewhere outside of campus, and also that you can hear from students and hear their experiences of being a university student at Sussex. So thank you for listening.
So a lot of the other virtual tours we've seen have been quite whizzy, been quite snazzy. There's been quite a lot of immersive, interactive experience, but there are also some really effective and more simple ways of exploring university. This is University of York's YouTube channel, and you can see that they've got a number of different playlists and videos that talk about some of their courses, talk about what undergraduate study is like, all very short and sweet. Similarly, they've got some student blogs around results day, information on how clearing works, and individual students' experiences of what happens through clearing. And so students can use these videos to learn a little bit more about the university that they're interested in, and also the element of accommodation, moving in, what to consider when looking for a room, as well as tours of the city. There's also a number of lectures that you can watch all for free. So just because a university doesn't have kind of a flash interactive immersive experience doesn't mean that there's not enough good quality information out in other places either. While a lot of the virtual tours that we've highlighted in this video are aimed at an older audience, perhaps those in post-16 education, there are some ways of implementing the idea of higher education tours across all year groups. Southern Universities Network, known as SUN, and their Uni Explorer site is a lovely way of introducing the concept of university to any year group, but is particularly aimed at pre-16 learners. It takes a generic approach, defines some key words used in the sector, and there's an element of gamification in completing sections by reading and watching information. If you use a search engine and type in SUN Uni Explorer, then you should be able to find the link, but I'll also include it in the video description below. Remember how we said that adding a bit of structure to a virtual tour would help make the encounter more meaningful for the students? Well, this is how we do it from a Pathways point of view. One of our team was a qualified teacher, and she developed some worksheets to help students compare and contrast different providers and to explore different areas of the virtual campus. While initially these worksheets were created to use alongside our website, the general themes can be tweaked to use with any higher education provider virtual tour. The concepts of student life, budgeting, exploring subjects, really they can be used at any university or FE college. Our website was written for students aged 13 to 19, but we're redeveloping some of our resources to appeal to parents, carers, students with additional requirements, looked after children and young adult carers. We've made some changes to the layout of the site to make that relevant information stand out more. Our worksheet resources are available on request and can be used by teachers and careers leads to help students explore different areas of higher education life through blogs, videos, and virtual tours. And for older students who want to get more information from an institution that they're interested in, many higher education providers have a messaging feature such as UniBuddy or the Access platform, where they can talk to a real student and ask any questions they might have. Sometimes this can be done in real time. Other times a message is sent and a student responds within 24 hours. This is another way of making the encounter meaningful, and your learners should be encouraged to use these platforms where available. If you really wanted to get creative, then these virtual tours, as well as chat platforms like UniBuddy, can be used to help students make their own open day across one school day and to get the information that matters to them from the universities or HE providers they're interested in. So here's an example timetable for a personalised virtual open day at any time in the year. Session 1 could be all about getting there. Your students pick a university and then they have to plan their travel. How long will it take to get there by car? How much will it cost by train or bus? What time will they need to leave if the first presentation is at 9 a.m? This gives students a geographical insight into the practicalities of travelling to a university or further education college from where they live. Students will have the chance to reflect on their own preferences or limitations on travel. For example, going to a university near the seaside might be the dream, but the practicalities of a £200 train ticket that takes 6 hours and 4 changes back to Leicester need to be considered. Session 2 could be a welcome talk. If the providers you're looking at have a pre-recorded welcome talk either on their site or on YouTube, then you could watch a selection from different places and have a game of welcome talk bingo. Welcome talks can be a good insight into the values or culture of different providers. Do they feel like a good fit to the student? Could they see themselves aligning to the priorities or interests of the provider they're interested in? On a regular open day, there's plenty of opportunity for coffee and snacks, so encourage the students to take a break before starting session 3. Session 3 could be a campus tour where students can self-guide around 2 or 3 different providers and see what facilities are available. Encourage them to critically evaluate their preferences. Get a discussion going about what's important to them. Do they want to be close to the action of a city? Or are they happy with accommodation being separate from the main teaching site? Having a fancy ensuite studio flat might look awesome, but will they be able to afford it on their maintenance loan? Would they compromise on a shared flat where they could meet new people? After the campus tour, take a lunch break, perhaps ask them to find a student union or campus cafe on their virtual tour, and then the remainder of the afternoon can be spent exploring student life. By using UniBuddy or something similar, students can contact undergraduates who are studying a course that they're interested in or want to find out more about. Encourage them to ask questions that matter to them, not just about the course, but life in higher education more generally. What's the work balance like? How much support do they get from lecturers or tutors? What's been challenging on the course? Finally, there are loads of recorded lecture series either on YouTube or massive open online courses, which we shorten down to MOOCs. These can give an insight into what learning at a higher education provider is like. You can explain the difference between lectures, seminars, and self-directed learning, and your students can get a glimpse of what higher education students experience on a daily basis. This is just our idea for a personalised open day, but I'm sure there are loads of different ways to do it. The key thing really is for students to be able to compare and contrast a range of options and have the time and discussion to reflect on what their preferences might be. If you want to explore in your own time some of the resources that we've mentioned today, then these are the links which I'll also put in the video description below. Hopefully this session has got some of those creative brains whirring as to how you can make a virtual encounter of further education or higher education into something meaningful towards your Gatsby 7 benchmark. Over on the Pathways social media, we've got loads of content designed to help students learn more about the range of higher education options available to them. Our Instagram has lots of student ambassador content that gives an insight into student life, and we also advertise a number of our own events there too. Twitter is often used to signpost and raise awareness of opportunities going on across different areas, and we've also got our main website, which signposts to our events and resources that can be used to research future decisions. Finally, if you have any questions or would like to get in touch, then please do email us, and one of the team will be able to get back to you. Thanks very much for watching. We'd love to know how you've used virtual tours in your classrooms or with young people that you work with.